Hi everybody. So, what do you guys think? Which method will be the faster one? Dry brushing / brush painting or using an airbrush? I found in my drawer those two models and they are the perfect prototypes to test it out. Spoiler alert, both took more or less 3 hours to paint. But let's see the process. I have these two Primaris Ultramarine Assault Marines. And both of them were primed at the same time. There was no need to do it separately and it took more or less 5 minutes for each one of them. If you would batch paint them, then it would take, I don't know, 10 minutes for a squad of 10 Marines. The first one got a zenithal prime with an ink, a white ink. Afterwards, I started spraying a light blue color on the highlights. And this was also an ink. Then he got a darker blue ink on the base tones and on some of the shadows. Afterwards came both of the metallic colors. You can use whatever metallic and gold paint, I mean steel and gold paint you have or you want. It really doesn't matter, just paint the details afterwards. After that, I used the good old Nuln oil. And what's really fun about Nuln oil and any of the other shades from Citadel, if you do it deliberately and focus on just a few points, you can get a really good result. And you can also do panel lining with those shades. While the Nuln oil was drying, I took a lighter paint and started doing the edge highlights. And probably this was the longest part of the whole painting process as always. And I know, but I have to tell you this. Don't forget about edge highlights. They are super important. Don't forget! After the edge highlights were done, he got some metallic highlights. And I really don't remember if I even bothered to get a different metallic paint or I just used the same one. Then it was just some details here and there like the leather pouches. Painting the base with some colors that I had on my palette already. I added 2 grass tufts. I painted the rims black and it took more or less 3 hours and the model was done. Now came the second model. And I started here with dry brushing all of the metallic details. The real question is, why did I start with dry brushing the metallics first? First thing was that if I would paint them normally, it would take a lot of time. This is something that I learned from the previous model. And my dry brushing technique is not that good, so if I made here any mistakes, I can cover this up with the next base layer of the marine that will come. I took my cracked blue because I'm a dumbass and I mixed that with some black paint. And believe me, I have nothing against ultramarines, but that color, I just really don't like it. But I have this paint and I have to use it and it is more or less okay with the lore, let's say. After this was done, I took some cracked blue, pure cracked blue this time, and a really small dry brush and I started dry brushing all of the panels to give a base color to the model, which was followed by a lighter blue for the highlights, also dry brushed because I wanted to do it as quick as possible. And I'm gonna be perfectly honest here, I did a very shit job on the highlights, but this is supposed to be a tabletop model ready really quickly for your army. Nothing really fancy here. As always, the longest part was the edge highlighting. Unfortunately, I somehow lost the footage of applying Nuln oil, but it went somewhere between dry brushing the highlights and then the other steps. After doing the edge highlights, I also gave the metallics some highlights. Afterwards it was just a little bit of details here and there. The base also got a color that I had on my palette already. Some additional grass tufts, 2 of them in this case. He also got the rim painted black and he was done, and it was also more or less 3 hours. So guys, let's see both of them and compare them. Now when I look at them, I prefer the airbrushed one. To me he looks a lot cleaner. The colors are more vivid. And I'm 100% sure that this has a lot to do with the acrylic inks used here. I would really prefer doing a few of those airbrushed ones than those dry brushed ones. But the other one came out pretty fine for such a quick paint job. You can definitely refine some points of the process along with the paint job, because you will get better and faster with it. All I wanted to show with him is just that you can paint decent looking marines really quick. And I just used 2 or 3 different brushes and some extra patience. The most important thing here was planning and having the process written down. Without that, I would probably do a lot more mistakes. And believe me, I have done a few mistakes, but you can always hide them with, for example, some bruises, some sort of scratches on the armor. Both of the models were done in more or less 3 hours, I think less than 3 hours. And I'm pretty sure that I could make a group of 5 marines in 4 to 5 hours. And then a squad of 10 marines in a busy afternoon, if I would plan everything correctly, of course. What do you guys think? Which one do you prefer? Please leave a comment, I will really appreciate it. And of course, thanks a lot for joining me today. You are all superb and I really mean that. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Give a like, give a share, leave a comment. I will try to answer them all. Also, you can have a look at my Patreon and my Instagram. Links to both of them will be visible in the video description. So, as always, take care guys and see you in the next one. And don't forget, the Emperor protects.